Winx Club was not a game. Let's discuss. Thank. Was I gonna say thank you? Sorry. Welcome to Psyche's Thoughts. My name isn't Psyche. It's Elizabeth. You're here. I'm here. We are here because I've decided that I'm gonna get on here every day and share a random thought with you guys. And so today, my random thought is about Winx Club, and I want to talk about Winx Club because I think that a lot of people, like, unless you're like really into the fandom and you have been for like a while, or you grew up with the show and stuff like that. But even if you, I feel like most people like that have just like grown up with the show and just have like a general awareness of Winx Club, right? I think a lot of people tend to really underestimate or forget maybe how intense Winx Club actually was. I think that when people remember Winx Club, they remember like the aesthetics, they remember the looks, they remember the glitter, the transformations, they remember the boyfriends, the love interests. Um, but if you actually watched Winx Club, I think that like if you actually watch Winx Club, sorry, I have those, but if you actually watch Winx Club, then you know that those girls, the Winx girls, were fighting for their lives the whole show, fighting for their lives. Yeah, it wasn't a game. It wasn't a game. And I think that maybe, like I said, the main reason why people misremember the show is because of the aesthetic. It's colorful, right? But when when I remember Winx Club, I remember it being like entertaining. Like it was beyond the looks. It was genuinely entertaining. I remember being a little girl and sitting in my living room and being like being so captivated by the episode and the directions that things were going, that I was just always locked in. Like I always just wanted to see what was gonna happen next week. Like there was just so much. There was so much. All there was always so much going on. It was always drama. There was always a lore drop. There was always some new threat, and the story never felt stale. It never felt like it was sitting still. It never felt like like la 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 la. that you, I think Bloom's storyline enough is enough to keep you invested, right? Because Bloom, the main character, excuse me, had to burp. The main character Bloom, she doesn't just discover like, "Ooh, I'm a fairy, I have magical powers." She basically doesn't know who she is, right? She has to, like, her whole identity is a mystery, and she has to figure out who she really is, where she actually came from, and what happened to her homeworld, and what that means for her as a person, right? What that means for her as like how she fits into this new world that she had no idea even existed, that she had no idea that she even belonged in. Like that alone, seated for that. The destruction of Domino, like the mystery around her parents, is it becomes like such a huge part of the show. So you're not just watching like this cute little fairy school show, but you're watching like a full fit, like you're watching a mystery, you're watching a full fantasy mystery over multiple seasons. Yeah, Bloom, I mean, she's a main character, so she has to carry, but like she definitely, her backstory definitely carried for a long time. But the show didn't just focus on Bloom. Bloom wasn't just the sole focus of the show, right? Even though she was the main characters, I definitely feel like a lot of characters still got the chance and still got the time to develop. The girls still got development, and every single one of them had their own personality, their own struggles, and their own moments to shine. And the world itself, like the world that Winx exists in, is interesting too. Like Althea College, um the other schools, the schools for the witches, I forget the name of it, like just the multiple magical kingdoms, the different dimensions, like how these countries are interacting with each other, like the politics of Winx, like yeah, like I think that Winx is such a rich fantasy universe, right? Instead of just sitting in one setting, instead of just having like the static setting, it's a real universe, and it allows you as the viewer to really visualize yourself in there. And I always feel like a good show, especially a fantasy, a good fantasy when you can genuinely imagine the world is so big that you can genuinely imagine yourself in this world. Yeah. But back to like how the show wasn't a game. Like the stakes were serious. The stakes were really serious. It, it got unchy a lot of times. Do people know what unchy is? It got tricky a lot of times. Can we talk about Enchantix? Can we talk about the Enchantix era? So in order for the girls to get Enchantix, they basically had to sacrifice themselves, right? For I think they had to sacrifice themselves from someone from their home world, right? From their home country or whatever the case may be. And obviously that immediately raises the stakes because their power-ups are tied to, their power-ups are now tied to moments of genuine danger. And when I think about, oh my gosh, you know what, when I think about what else I was watching at the time, like I was, because I'm trying to remember, was Winx Club on, I think it was on Nick's, was it on Nick or Nicktoons? But I remember watching, like, imagine watching like girls get Enchantix and then also watching Dragon Ball, and you're watching Goku like become super, like, honestly, I honestly feel like the stakes were on similar levels as, you know, that first Super Saiyan, like, transformation. For example, Flora. Flora, oh my gosh, Flora's moment is so memorable because she basically died. Well, she basically was ready to die to save her sister. And the show was so good in not letting us ever doubt for this. Like, there was a genuine, the show sat in a genuine moment where you, where the audience were made to genuinely believe. I think I'm saying genuinely too much, but the audience was made to really believe that Flora was actually going to die. Like, she was not going to make it past this episode. If you told like little girl me, she was not gonna make it past that episode. Then we get to Aisha, who basically loses her. She's blind, and she's not just like, ooh, mm, 30 minutes, and then like I can see again. No, she's blind for literally. She's blind for like a whole arc. Blind, blind. And instead of choosing to fix herself, instead of choosing to heal herself, to give herself sight, she chooses to help the queen first before healing herself. And I just think that these are the kind of moments in the show that make it so clear that this was more than just like cute fairy transformation date boyfriend. Like those things were nice and they added to the richness of the story, but it's so, I feel like, again, I just love when shows or media respect their audience, even if the audience is young and even if the audience is like traditionally underestimated, especially like young girls. Like, yes, the girls want the equivalent of Son Goku. Like, yes, 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 yes. And I think that, speaking of relationships, another thing that Wings Club did very well is like in with the variety of relationships. Like, you didn't just get the same trope or the same type of relationship over and over and over again, but they had something for everyone. Like, you know, Bloom and Sky, they're the main romance that drives a lot of the story, and they have their issues. Somebody almost get married. It's a mess. They're a mess. You have Stella and Brandon, who are more chill, playful, dynamic. You have Tekna and Timmy, who are just like, they just get each other. So, you know, depending on what you like, there was something for everybody. But you know who there was never something for? You know what I will never forgive? You know what you look at me, you know what I will never forgive. Why they kill Nabu? Why they kill Nabu? Nabu and Aisha genuinely had one of, if not the most stable, healthiest relationships in the entire series. Their relationship actually felt mature. They supported each other, they trusted each other. Like, it felt so much it felt stable, and it felt like, honestly, a lot more natural compared to the other relationships. Like, even them getting to know each other despite being like arranged, I genuinely enjoyed them together. I loved them together, and I wanted them to be together. So when they killed Nabu, I cried. I cried. I was traumatized. They traumatized me. And I think what makes that decision so frustrating is because everybody else in the show, they get relationships that are filled with drama. They get arguments, they get misunderstandings, they get, the girls break up and they fight with their boyfriend, whatever, right? But they, at the end of the day, they still get to have their person. Aisha's the only one who permanently loses hers. And I know, like, after that, she gets a few other, like, love it. I don't care. I don't care. Nobody will ever replace Naboo. Like, nobody. And I think that, even though they still did well with the story afterwards, even though Naboo had to be the one to die, because he sacrifices himself, sealing the black circle. And after that, Aisha's storyline shifts into like navigating grief and revenge. And I think that it was interesting to see. Like, I'm not necessarily. I I like that arc from her. I really liked that arc from her. And how that moment, that death changed her entire character arc. And it stuck with me, right? It stuck with me how much Nabu's death transformed her as a character. But I still don't, you didn't have to kill him. But that just goes to show how high the stakes were. It just goes to show like how serious the show was. Because I feel like in any other show marketed to kids, people don't really die like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's never this permanent loss of, like, especially a beloved character's boyfriend. Like, there's never that permanent loss. But to have that permanent loss, and then to have, have that character navigate that loss, beautiful. I honestly, I gotta give them their things. And you know maybe the real reason, which I touched on earlier, maybe the real reason why Wings Club, the seriousness of Wings Club gets dismissed, is often because media for girls, media marketed towards girls, is automatically deemed as less serious. It's automatically dismissed. And so people just remember the girly things. They remember the glitter. They remember the fashion, the romance. But they don't remember the destroyed kingdoms. They don't remember, oh my gosh, they don't remember the villains. They don't remember, like, like, and I feel like it's only if you're really into it that you see like people really discussing like the power scaling and you know things like that, like the plot lines, but people just remember the cute stuff, which is, it's fine to remember that, but like, Wings Club is way more than that. It's not a game. So if you're a Wings Club fan, let me know what you think. What's your favorite arc? How do you feel about them killing off Naboo? Because I'm still traumatized by it. I'm still traumatized by it. I it should have been Riven. What? It should have been Riven. Why don't you have Misa go through loss? Riven was not nothing to cry over anyway. But anyway, that's, what. Yeah, let's talk about it in the comments. If you want to see more of me on this channel, you can see me in this corner right there. I'm a writer. You can go to my blog, psychestats.com. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter and TikTok. I'm burping. That's why I'm drinking tea, because I'm trying to detox, because I keep burping. But what else? If you're watching this tonight, have a good night. If you're watching this any other time, have a good time. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.